Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pro MMA Betting Podcast. We're going to talk about UFC 242 this Saturday, the return of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Firstly, just a quick recap on the results from the weekend just gone, as we always do. So for UFC China on pre-bets, we lost one unit. We had two bets. We had Damir Ismagulov versus Thiago Moises, fight to go the distance, which hit. And we had a bet on Jessica Andrade as well, which, as we all know, unfortunately didn't hit. Very impressive performance from Weili Zhang rose to the occasion. Still a lot of question marks regarding Zhang that weren't answered because the fight was over so quick, but real impressive performance. Hats off to her. So 1 unit loss on pre-bets. We absolutely killed it on the live betting service though. We got some great lines on some of the fights. The Young fight, when he took on Ibrahimov, we got plus 400 or 4-1 in the UK on live betting. You could see midway through round one, the Russian was just kind of backed up everything that was happening. You could see he was just winging wild haymakers. It looked like he was going to gas himself out. He'd gassed on tape. That's exactly what happened. The lines just obviously hadn't done their research, didn't kind of know what kind of pattern the fight might fall into, and we got a great line. We've also got a great line on Keenan Song, plus 333 after round two. Crazy line. It was 1-1 going into round three. Yes, Krantz won round two, but you could see he was tiring. Just a nutty line for a fight that was 1-1 going into round three with two low-level guys. Numerous other lines as well. The Chinese kid that absolutely smoked Smolka, got a great live bet line on him. I think it was during round one. We still got him at plus odds, and it was just clear that Sukumtov was going to clearly struggle for the takedown, and he was just outclassed on the feet. Great line on him. We done the boxing afterwards. We only broke even on the boxing. I lost money ridiculously trusting Fury, not the very good Fury. His cousin, the other Fury. Trusting him on live bet. I shouldn't have done it. He's burnt me in the past when I've live betted him, and I fell in the trap again. Luckily, recouped all the money on the Lomachenko Campbell fight. We managed to bet fight goes the distance with, I think there was 3 or 4 rounds left. We managed to get a plus number on it. Massive sweat, but it hit, so we broke even on the boxing. But ultimately won about 6 units on live betting. So we was up 5 units across the weekend, which takes members who bet £100 or $100 per unit to the £10,000 or $10,000 profit mark for 2019. Got 4 months left, so we're 2/3 of the way through the year. So still big chunk of the year left. We've got a run of, I think now it's 11 consecutive UFCs. So big chance to make money. As I've said on here many times, guys, live betting, the freest money you're ever likely to earn, and it's backed up again. I've posted all my bet slips from the weekend. Well, not all of them, but a big chunk of them from the weekend on my Twitter page, as I always do. You see the stake sizes, you see the odds. I'm not one of these that covers the stakes. I proclaim to be the world's highest stakes MMA tipster. I haven't seen anyone else putting out tips with the stake sizes that we do. So that's why I like to put my bet slips on there, and I like to prove that I am betting what I'm tipping. A lot of these tipsters give you tips and they're not even betting them themselves. I'm putting my balls on the line, both with my money and with my reputation and with the service that we offer. So all bet slips posted on the Twitter page, guys. Live betting's going from strength to strength. We're in profit with the pre-bets as well. Pre-bets have been sent out for UFC 242 to members. All of our bets, guys, are third party tracked. All the UFC, all the boxing pre-bets and our live betting tips are tracked as well. Website prommmabetting.com, Twitter at prommmabetting, and you're watching on the YouTube channel, please give us a subscribe. Guys, the service is cheap as chips. $45 works out about, I think it's like £37 per month for the service. If you was with us this past weekend, you would have easily, I mean, unless you've got really tiny unit sizes, you would have easily recouped your money for the month and made profit. Even if you buy yearly, guys, it's £350 or $440. It works out like, I've not done the maths on this, I've done it on the discount last week when I was offering 20% off, but it probably works out like across the roughly 40 UFC events, probably about 10 quid an event. Guys, we're up over £10,000 or $10,000 this year alone. You're easily going to cover your annual subscription and then make a shitload of money on top of it. If you're looking for a long-term investment that isn't putting your money in an interest savings account, here in the UK you get about 1.5% return on your money. It's an absolute joke. If you want a long-term investment that's going to give you good returns on your money year on year out, give our service a try, guys. Our return rate is much better than what you're going to get from your bank. I can't speak for other countries regarding the interest rates. I only know the UK and it's absolutely abysmal. And, you know, you get no return on your money. There's, you know, you can pump it into stocks and shares, but I'd rather invest my money into betting because I know what I'm doing. Stocks and shares, I haven't got a clue how the stocks are going to act. Does anyone even really know? I don't even know. I mean, the stock market's just completely runs on its own accord. I'd rather invest my money into this. Yes, it's MMA, it's high variance, so there's no guarantees, of course, but I've been doing this many years, and of course you're going to take some losses, but in the long run we are going to make money. I've never had a losing year. I've always won considerable amount of profit year on year, and I don't see why that's going to change. As I've said before, we're not going to suggest that you risk 30, 40, 50 units in one night. It's absolute bankroll suicide. Kind of 10 units is our max. Rarely do we even recommend you risk 10 units. We chip away slowly but surely, guys. It isn't a get rich quick scheme. Don't fall for these bogus guys on the internet touting for your business, promising you or showing you that they've won 30 units in a UFC event previously. Yeah, they might go on a lucky run and win a couple like that, but it's going to be high variance and it's going to be very up and down, and more often than not you end up in the negative. So stick with us, guys. It's a long-term service. Think of it like that, long-term investment. It's not a get rich quick scheme, but we will make money in the long term and you're going to get a great return on your money. Cheapest chips for the service. I know someone else offers the live betting service. I think they charge £200 a month, which would be like about $250. I've not had a look at their tracking, if they even track, but I highly doubt their results are as good as ours. And I'm asking for, or we ask for $45 per month. You know, for the year we're asking for £350, and this chap's asking for £200 for the month. I'm not asking for much more to sign up for the year, guys, and you're going to make big money. Just crazy charging, in my opinion. But that's enough about our service. Hopefully you've seen enough. All of our bets are third party tracked, as I said. There are direct links below this video to all of the trackers, or you can have a look on our website. All the links are on there, prommmabetting.com. Come and make money with us, guys. And we've got great camaraderie in the Discord chat where we have the live betting tips as well. Nothing better than making money while you're watching what you love. But let's move on to UFC 242. Let's break down the card. A really, really strong card. It's over in Dubai, so another great time for us Europeans. It's on during the day. We'll start from the bottom as always and work our way through the card. First fight on the card, guys, is Dom Madge taking on Ferreira. Ferreira's very young guy, only 22 years of age. He's taking this on fairly short notice. Dom Madge, we saw in his UFC debut, was a big underdog. Quite crazily, really, what the odds were in retrospect. But he had a really impressive win over T. Edwards. I think T. Edwards was a bit overrated, to be fair. Well, the odds definitely overinflated him. But impressive win nonetheless. He fought on the South African circuit. I haven't done much research on this, guys, because I just remember trying to do tape on Madge for his UFC debut, and it's just hard to get tape from EFC. So I haven't really gone too much into this fight. We've got the T. Edwards fight to go off, but there's still a lot of question marks, basically. Ferreira, I know he's fought in Glory, so he's going to have some solid stand-up. Looking at his record there, I recognise Abner Lavirus. He's the Spanish guy. I think he was on the Ultimate Fighter. He knocked him out in the second round, and I think Abner's actually pretty durable normally, so it's a fairly impressive win there. So this is quite an intriguing fight for me. Not going to make a prediction. I don't know enough about either guy, but I think it's going to be a really exciting fight to open up the card. So, like I said, no prediction. I haven't delved into it. It's a fight. As I always say, this podcast is a betting podcast. I'm really only interested in looking at fights where I'm potentially going to bet. And for me to bet on a fight, I need there to be enough tape available for me to make an informed decision. I still don't have a full read on Don Madge's game and what improvements he's made and so forth. So no prediction, but I do predict a very exciting fight to start the card. Next, we've got Amari Akhmedov taking on Zach Cummins. Intriguing fight, this one. Both are relatively new to the middleweight division. Both have moved up from welterweight. Amari, I don't know how he made welterweight when you look at him now. He looks very well filled out at middleweight. Zach Cummins doesn't look as big as I was anticipating at middleweight. I know he'd struggled for a long time to make the weight to welterweight. He missed weight a few times. I remember one time cutting weight, he collapsed in the bath and smacked his head. So this is an interesting fight. Kind of reminds me in a way of Zach Cummins when he took on Brazeras and lost. Now Zach is coming off back-to-back wins at middleweight, but I don't think he's looked that great. Trevor Smith isn't great. He got the win there, but there was definitely some questionable fight IQ in that fight. He could have made that win easier. Trevin Giles' fight was really, really close until he hurt him late in the third round and got the finish, and we just saw Trevin Giles, and my God, the fight IQ in that man is absolutely terrible. So Giles had a bit of hype, but after that last performance against Gerald Meerschaert, it's taken a bit of shine off that win for Zach. But Zach, he hasn't looked great for a while. He got those wins over Yakovlev and Nathan Coy, but where are they at in their careers? They're not high-level fighters. And then lost to Brazeras, wins over Smith and Giles, but just didn't overly impress me in either win. He is 35 now. He's taking on Amari Akhmedov here, who seems to be looking... I think he does look better at middleweight. We've seen him twice now at middleweight. He got the draw in Marvin Vettori, where he had a really good start, but typical Amari, he gassed himself out and he lost the third round 10-8, so it ended up being a draw. He's kind of looked better against Tim Boetsch. Seemed to fight a bit more disciplined, but Tim Boetsch fought pretty reserved. Now, to be honest, I'm expecting the same kind of fight from Zach Cummins. He doesn't really push a pace Zach. He's not really high volume. He's very tough, Zach. They're both tough guys. I've just got a feeling Amari might outwork Zach though to a decision here. I expect the fight to probably play out on the feet mostly, but I can just see Amari's work rate being that much more. Amari always has to be careful with his gas tank. He can't gas himself out as he has done historically, but did look better against Boetsch. But as I said, Boetsch doesn't really push the pace, but neither does Zach. I just think stylistically it's potentially a good fight for Amari here with regards to his style and how he fights and how he can avoid depleting his gas tank. And I think it's going to be a close competitive fight. I'm interested to see what the over or fight goes to distance line will be, because they're both are tough guys. As I said, Zach's always shown to have a real solid chin. I don't think he's ever been stopped. We have seen Amari stopped before. Sergio Moraes put him away in the third round in a fight. Amari was 2 rounds up and He gasped badly against Zaleski and got put around in the third round. But they were fights at welterweight when he was definitely depleting his body, trying to get down to that weight. I think at middleweight, he'll probably find he's a bit more durable, and as long as he doesn't punch himself out, because he did nearly get stopped in round 3 against Vittori as well. So, but he's at, I've not checked him for this camp, but last camp he did do American top team. Camp's absolutely on fire. Seen it's a whole, I'm sure, in his game, so I expect him to be a little bit more reserved, and even if he is a little bit more low volume, I just don't think Zach's going to have the volume to match him, and I think the power shots, the more eye-catching shots, will come from Amari. So I'm gonna pick Amari here to win a decision. He's a slight favourite, -120. I don't have a problem with that, and I'm intrigued to see what the fight goes to distance line is. Next, men's welterweight division, we've got Muslim Salikov taking on Nordin Taleb. Interesting fight, this one. Nordin is 38 now. He relies on his speed and reflexes, which do seem to be slowing down with age. I've noticed in his last couple of fights he started off really well and just started to get hit more as the fights have worn on. Saw that even in his last fight where he dominated Pepelec, but Pepelec did start to have a little bit more success as the fight wore on, and we saw it against Sean Strickland as well. He started really, really well against Sean Strickland and got hurt badly in the second round and ultimately finished, which is a little bit of a worry because Sean isn't known for his kind of power, but he is a huge welterweight. Muslim Salikov, we've not seen him for over a year now. He hasn't looked impressive in the UFC. I wasn't impressed in either of his fights. Alex Garcia choked him out in the second round, and the Ricky Rainey fight, he dropped round 1, but got outstruck, managed to land a shot behind the ear on Ricky Rainey late in round 2 and ultimately get the stoppage, but Ricky Rainey's not UFC caliber. So interesting fight here. I'm not buying the narrative that Taleb's going to go for takedowns, and even if he does, I don't see him having much success. Salikov's takedown defence isn't great, but he's not bad at stopping the initial takedown attempt. So Nordin, he's got an explosive double, but we've not really seen it for a long time, and I can't really see him successfully chain wrestling. So I expect this to be a stand-up fight. Nordin's done his camp, as he has done for a while now at Tiger as well, so I think it's going to be a stand-up fight. I think the odds are fairly accurate. It's near enough a pick'em. I can see Nordin starting really well. I think he does out-volume Salikov. It's just whether Salikov lands the money punch as Nordin maybe starts to slow, as we've seen as the fight wears on. Has his durability. I mean, the only guy to stop him is Strickland, but he's getting up there in age. He got dropped a couple of fights prior as well against Ponzinibbio, which there's no shame in that, and Ponzinibbio cracks, but the worry here is Salikov does just catch him with something in a fight that, if it goes to a decision, unless Taleb's been dropped or hurt a few times, I expect him to win the decision on his volume. But I just worry Salikov just catches him with something. Salikov is pretty low volume. He's pretty low percentage as well. A lot of his KOs are like spinning hook kicks, spinning back kicks, things like that. So it's low percentage. So, as long as Nordin can avoid anything like that, he should be able to volume his way to a decision. But he's still got to be careful with Salikov catching him with a big punch. So it's not a confident pick, but I will lean towards Nordin. But I would be nervous putting money on him, especially as the fight wears on. I could definitely see him potentially getting caught with something. Salikov normally trained with Mark Henry, but he seems to have done his camp at home here as well. Looking through his Instagram, it seems like he's not been there for a long time. So I'll lean Taleb, but it's a close, intriguing fight, and I don't see either guy really going anywhere in the UFC. Salikov's 35 himself, so I'll go Taleb to win a decision, but I would not be shocked if his lights get put out here. Last fight on Fight Pass is Belal Muhammad taking on Takashi Sato. I'm pretty confident in Belal here. He's got really good fight IQ, mixing his striking and his takedowns. For me, Sato, he's a southpaw. He's left hand KO or bust here for me. Belal Belal is hittable. He's got a big head. There is a big target there. He is durable though. We've seen him he did get knocked out by Luque, but we've seen him recover from being hurt numerous times. Jeff Neal fight. We saw it in the Alan Jabane fight. I just think Belal's just going to outwork Sato on the feet. I would not be shocked if Belal gets put on his ass at some point, but I think he outworks him on the feet. I think he will mix in takedowns. We saw Franca have success with takedowns in his Pancrase fight and ultimately get submitted. And Sato got outstruck by Ben Saunders in round 1 as well. So this is Belal's fight for me. The odds though have gone. He's like minus 370. The odds are too high. I'll be intrigued to see what Belal's decision line is, because Belal isn't a finisher. He's not a big puncher. He does take you down, and he will take you back, and Sato does give his back up to get back up, but he's not really shown himself to be a potent finisher from having someone's back. So I'm going to go with Belal here. Money line is too wide now. I can't be betting Belal as a minus 370. I bet him in his last fight against the guy with no takedown defence. I can't remember his name. Milinder, and we got him as he was a slight favourite, or was he a slight underdog? But that's the kind of line I like getting on Belal. Big favourite, no, but I will be intrigued to see what his decision prop is. I'm not really sure what it's going to be. He's a big favourite. I've got a feeling that might even be overpriced, so it might be a pass. I think I know Belal was around. I saw William Hill had him at minus 250 for a while. Wish I'd blind betted that before tape. I bet a number of guys on this card before doing tape because I thought the lines were going to move. Belal was the only one that I kind of had a strong lean on pre-tape but passed on. I don't know why I did. I should have bet him. I guess I didn't expect him to get bet up, because you don't normally see Belal as a big favourite, but it's a favourable stylistic fight for him. So definitely Belal, probably a decision. So we move on next to Ottoman Azaitar taking on Teemu Packalén. This is the debut in the UFC for Ottoman. A few things I noted. He is managed by forgotten his name, the guy that manages Khabib and everyone else, which always makes me a little bit nervous, because he tends to be able to get his fighters good matches. Well, it makes me nervous if I'm betting the other side, which I'm not betting Teemu Packalén here. So he is managed by him. We've not seen him in over a year, so there could be improvements to his game. He spent some time at AKA. I'm not sure how long he was there for, but he seems to have a relationship with Khabib. There's a training photo with them together recently at AKA, and if you look through his Instagram, there's prior pictures with Khabib as well. He's a big puncher. He's aggressive. He's definitely pretty raw. He's got some holes. He can be taken down, albeit he's against the opposition he's faced. He's got back to his feet. Seen him hurt a couple of times as well, but he's managed to recover and come back. Big puncher, aggressive fighter. Teemu Packalén from Finland. We haven't seen much of him in recent years. He was scheduled to fight Yakovlev a few months back, but he pulled out injured. So he's coming in here. I'm not really sure where Packalén's at in his career. He's not fought for a long time. Let's just have a look when his last fight was. His last fight was, so we're looking at like 2.5 years ago since he fought. His last 2 fights were both over in under 30 seconds. So for all intents and purposes, he hasn't really fought in over 4 years. The Mikhail Lebu fight, which he did take on short notice, to be fair to him, that went the distance. That was over 4 years ago, and since then 2 30-second fights. So for me, haven't seen his game in 4 years. That's a long time to be out of fighting, especially at the UFC level. Now, whether Ottoman is UFC level or not remains to be seen, but he's got holes, but I don't think he's a bad fighter. Packalén didn't look good in the Lebu fight either. He did take it on short notice, so he probably wasn't in the best of shape, but it just didn't look great. He's a grappler. He's not great standing. His takedowns aren't great. It's pretty much a shot from the outside. If he doesn't land it, that's it. He's done. He had got a good Guti, hurt him with an uppercut and then choked him out, but then he got crushed by Mark Diakese last time we saw him. So I have to go Ottman here. It's a bit of a fade on Teemu, but yeah, I mean the guy, as I said, hasn't really fought in 4 years. He's a grappler. I mean, he might be able to get Ottman down early, but he's going to need a quick submission because Ottman will work his way back to his feet. He's got big power in his hands. I think he's got the better cardio. I mean, Teemu as a whole, he gassed badly against Lebu. As I said, it was short notice, but when you look through his career, he's seen round 2 once there. He got a submission early in round 2 against the chap, but otherwise it's all round 1. So I've got to believe he hasn't really got the cardio to go hard for free. So I'm all about Ottman here. Ottman, as I said, he does have some holes in his game, which it definitely would be looking to fade him against a lot of other people, but I just don't think Teemu's head's in it. The line's dropping a bit. It's -210 now for Ottman. Let's see if it keeps dropping. It might drop a bit more. I think anything under -200 would be of interest to me. Inside the distance line, I'm intrigued to see what that is as well here, but I'm definitely picking Ottman. That's my prediction here. Knocks out Teemu, I think. Next fight we've got is a women's affair. We've got Sarah Moras taking on Liana Jojua. I haven't taped this fight, guys, purely because, as I've said already, this is a betting podcast. I look at fights where I think there's a possible bet, or at least enough tape to determine whether there's a possible bet. Liana is 24 years of age and she's not fought in over 18 months. So at that age, fighters normally make big leaps, and over 18 months is a long time in MMA, especially at that age, to make improvements. She might look like a completely different fighter. Having said that, the betting line is Moraz is +125. From what I've heard from people are favouring Sarah Moraz here. I don't think Sarah's a bad grappler. She is dangerous on the mat, but I'd need it to be a bit of a bigger plus number for me to look into this fight. But 18 months is just a long time. The fighters just, with men anyway, they do make big leaps. With the women, I'm not sure if we've seen proof of such substantial leaps in such a long space of time, but I am kind of just applying what I've seen in men's MMA, and it's just risky business. No tape in 18 months, a youngster, improvements can be made. But if Sarah drops to near +150, I'll have a look. I just don't see the line changing really much. I don't see how people can be confident either way, especially with the time off that Liana's had and the possible improvement. So for me as a bettor, always a big pass if there's a lack of tape and possible improvement. So pass there. I'm not making a prediction. I think Sarah, from what I've heard, is probably the right side. She's been in the big show many times. She is a decent grappler, but for me to look into it, I'd need her number to come up a bit more, closer to 150. Then I'll delve into it. But at the moment, pass fight for me. Talking of past fights, next fight, Lerone Murphy taking on Zubaira Tukhugov. Lerone Murphy's an English guy, but to be fair, I've never heard of him. First time hearing of him is going into this fight. Let me just have a quick look at his record. I did look before. I don't think I even recognised any wins on his record. He's 8-0. He's 28. Featherweight guy. Yeah, he's fought regional guys. Actually, I do recognise Aiton Di Pape. I'm sure he fought Jack Shaw. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, he did. I remember betting Jack Shaw in that fight. I got something crazy like -300, and I knew Jack Shaw was going to run through him. He took Murphy to a decision. A little bit worrying because Pape isn't good, and he also, since he lost to Murphy, Pape's lost to a British chap called Josh Reed in Cage Warriors. I don't remember the fight, but Josh Reed isn't great, so that's not a great sign for me. I've not seen the fight. Murphy might have absolutely destroyed him, but I would like to have thought Murphy would have got him out of there, but a decision win it was. So, but I've not seen the fight, so I don't know how one-sided it was. But he should have really been finishing Ayton. Not really sure how he's got this chance in the UFC, to be completely honest. As I said, that's the only guy I recognise on his record. He's coming off a win over an Italian chap, but looking at the Italian's record, no, he's no good. Italian regional fighters generally aren't very good, and looking at his record, he's not. So yeah, I mean, he's obviously been brought in to lose here for Tukhugov to get the win, but it's just a pass, guys. It's minus 500, and Tukhugov hasn't fought in 3 years, so you know, kind of same rule applies. He's a solid fighter, but a 3-year layoff is a long time. He's still young, 28, so I expect him to come out here and win. But I'm not paying that juice for someone that's been out for 3 years. But yeah, that looking at Murphy's record and that only getting a decision over the chap who Jack Shaw absolutely run through, bit of a worry for me. I think he's going to be in over his head here. But let's see what Tukhov's got after, 3 years is a long time out, but he is still young. But he's been brought in here to lose, so Tukhov's going to win. I've not looked into Murphy enough to predict how, but it's going to be a Tukhov win. But I wouldn't pay the juice, guys. He's been out 3 years. Who knows? He might come in looking rusty as hell. So yeah, that's my prediction there. Next fight, last fight before we get onto the main card, we've got Andrea Lee taking on Joanne Calderwood. Good fight, this one. Good women's MMA fight. I wasn't actually sure if they could put women's MMA on in Dubai, but evidently they can. I was expecting it to be an all-male card. So Andrea Lee, she's impressed me since she's been in the UFC, to be completely honest. It was tough to get a read on her pre-UFC, but so far she's been fairly impressive. I've made some money betting on her, but I don't want to get too carried away with her, because when you look at who she's fought in the UFC, has been fairly low caliber opponents. Veronica Macedo, Ashley Evans-Smith, and Montana De La Rosa, who I don't think's that bad. I think she's improving fight by fight, and I bet Andrea Lee in her last fight against Montana, and I thought it was a fairly impressive performance from Lee. Defended the takedowns well, got back to her feet immediately when she did get taken down, won the striking. She's got some good hands, she's got a nice jab, and she can use her wrestling too. She didn't use it on Montana really, but we saw her mix it in against Macedo. We saw against Ashley Evans-Smith, most other girls she would have been able to take down, but Ashley Evans-Smith's got that wrestling background, and she's huge for the weight, 125. So I've been fairly impressed with Andrea Lee. I do recall her saying though that she wanted to have the summer off to spend it with her daughter, so a little bit worried that she has taken this fight, because I know it wouldn't have been ideal, but maybe it was offered to her and it's another payday, so she just took it. But it's a slight concern in the back of my mind there. Joanne Calderwood, been in UFC a long time now. She's over at Extreme Couture, I think. I think she's actually with John Wood. I think that's her partner now, who's the head coach over there. So she is coming off a loss to Caitlin Chikagan. She had a good first round against Caitlin, got her leg kicks going, but then just got outstruck. Caitlin started letting her hands go in 2 and 3, and it's kind of Calderwood's weakness is she's got good legs, but she's not very good defensively, and her hands are a weakness for her. She before that had back-to-back wins over Ferreira and Lipsky. Fairly low standard. Like the kind of opposition that Lee's beaten. Ferreira and Lipsky aren't great. Takedown defence is a concern for me with Calderwood. Ferreira got her down quickly. Ultimately she got the submission right at the end of round 1, but she was on her back up until that point. Lipsky attempted a takedown in, I think it was round 3. It was a horrible head and arm throw, but she easily got her down. So takedown defence is still a worry for me with Calderwood. I think Lee will probably mix in takedowns here. On the feet, Calderwood, she's good with her legs, but she's got I think it's like a 4-inch reach disadvantage going off memory, and Lee's definitely got the better hands. I can definitely see Lee getting her hands going, especially after seeing what Chikagan done. I haven't seen Chikagan box someone up like that on the feet before, and yeah, Calderwood just had no answer to the hands in rounds 2 and 3. So Lee needs to fight intelligently. If she just fights on the feet for 3 rounds, I can see it being close, but still see her edging it on the feet. I think she'll do damage with her hands. We saw De La Rosa's face was a bit of a mess after their fight. Joanne will be mainly landing kicks, and judges just, unless you massively outscoring your opponent, they just don't really score kicks. And I've never seen kicks really do damage either in women's MMA. So I mean, she might redden up Lee's legs, but I'd be very surprised if it ended up compromising Lee's movement. So that goes against you as well with the judges' scorecards on the damage. So I see Lee having the more eye-catching shots land, because she will be landing to the face, where Calderwood shots will probably be more to the legs and body because they're going to be kicks. And I think Lee can mix in the wrestling. She's big for the weight. I think she is the better athlete. I think she can get takedowns. She needs to be careful on top, because Calderwood has shown that she's got some submissions from the bottom. But yeah, I like Lee here. Let's just see what the odds are. -230, so it's starting to shoot up. I think -200 was okay. Kind of getting up to possibly unplayable kind of range now. But women's MMA, I'll be interested to see what Lee decision lies at. But yeah, anyone who got kind of -200, or if you got better than that, because I know the line originally was, I think, maybe -170 or so. I think there's value there, because I do expect Lee to win this fight, but she'd be smart to mix in takedowns just to leave no doubt in the judges' minds. But I think her hands versus Calderwood's kicks, I think the judges go with the hands for the damage that they do. Calderwood's face will probably get marked up, and you know what it's like. A nice solid jab landing to the face weighs more in judges' eyes than a low kick landing. It's just the way MMA is scored. So I'll go with Lee here to win a decision. So we move to the main card now. The return of Mairbek Taisumov, lightweight, taking on Diego Ferreira. Solid fight, this one. I'm looking forward to it. We haven't seen Taisumov for about a year now. Let's just have a look just to confirm that's correct. He last fought in September. Yeah, so it's been basically a year since we last saw him. I'm high on Taisumov. He's got excellent stand up, great athlete. He's got solid takedown defense. The Des Green fight, I think, has maybe left a bit of a sour taste in everyone's mouth, because if you take that fight away, the Felipe Silva fight was 2 years ago, so I think people have kind of forgotten kind of how good Taisumov is. Now, Des Green's an awkward opponent. I bet Taisumov over Des Green, and it was a sweat. But Des Green, he's awkward. Who's ever looked good against Des Green? No one. Taisumov weighed in as well at 161 pounds. So I don't know if he's ever confirmed what the issue was, but there was definitely something amiss. He must have been injured or sick. He definitely wasn't 100%, coming in 5 pounds overweight. Couple that with Des Green being a very awkward opponent, a southpaw as well. He's just a hard guy to look good against, and it was a close fight, but Taisumov won the fight. He landed the bigger shots. But yeah, I think it's just soured everyone's opinion a little bit when the problem is he just fights like once a year because he has these visa issues, and as I said, the Felipe Silva fight is 2 years ago now. But as long as Taisumov is still in the same kind of form as we've seen him in throughout his UFC run, then I think Ferreira's going to have a long night here. Taisumov stand up. As I said, his takedown defense is really good. He did lose to Brazeres through takedowns, but he was apparently sick in that fight as well. Brazeres, as we know, was a huge lightweight. So the slight worry with Taisumov is he will fight injured or sick. There's 2 possible occasions where he's done it, and he's probably doing it because he's fighting so infrequently. He needs the money, so he just has to fight no matter what. So you are kind of taking a little bit of a risk if you're going to bet him here, hoping that he isn't injured or sick, because he's not fought for a year, so probably needs the bloody paycheck. But it's very crisp counter puncher, big power. He can fight going forward as well. But the danger with Taisumov is if you're a kind of a move forward fighter, you're just going to walk onto something. We saw it with Felipe Silva, just walked onto a massive right hand and got slept. We saw it with Damir Hadzovic, walked onto, I think it was a right hand as well. That didn't actually finish him, but that was the beginning of the end for Damir. He got hurt and he ended up moving back then and got finished with a massive uppercut. Alan Patrick had no luck with takedowns on Taisumov, just stuffed him easily, finished him with a head kick. Des Green, I think, only went for the one takedown and he got Taisumov, I think, onto his arse, but Taisumov, so athletic, just popped straight back up. So this guy's a problem. It's just whether he can stay healthy and whether he can sort these visa issues out and fight more regular. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to fight in America, it doesn't seem, but there's plenty of UFC cards outside of America, and there's plenty in Europe now, so I'm not sure. We've got Copenhagen, so it's going to be too short a turnover, so I don't know when the next European card is, but just need to get him out more regular. But let's see how he looks here. He's got a big test in front of him. Diego Ferreira is no joke. Aggressive guy on the feet, legitimate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, really good ground game. He's coming off an impressive win over Rustam Khabib. He had a layoff it was like a 2-year layoff, but since he's come back, he ran through Jared Gordon, dropped him, and then clubbed him on the floor with one hand behind his back. Kyle Nelson, who came in really short notice, took Kyle out in the second round after he actually faced some adversity in the first round. He got hurt with a kick to the body and ate some big punches, but Kyle slowed really quickly. And then he's coming off a good win over Khabib, who I don't know what's happened with Khabib, whether injuries have caught up with him or what, but he's definitely seems to be fading. But still, it was an impressive win from Ferreira. If he did get taken down straight up and managed to outstrike Khabib on the feet. The way I see this fight going, the dynamic is Carlos Diego Ferreira is aggressive on the feet. I remember betting Dustin Poirier over him like 4 years or so ago now, purely because he's just so hittable. Now he has got better. Back then he like run his own camp. Now he is with Fortis. He has got better on the feet. He's not as wild, but he's a come forward fighter. That's his style. He's gonna move forward here. He's gonna try and land shots on Taisumov moving forward. He's not as wild, but he's still not, he's not a technical striker, and he's still there to be hit. I just think he's tailor-made for Taisumov. I think he's going to walk onto some shots from counter shots from Taisumov. I've already given you a couple of examples of Taisumov landing them shots. Des Green's a standoffish fighter, awkward fighter. Doesn't bring the fight to you. No, clash of styles really. This is a good style matchup, and if CDF doesn't push forward, he's going to be ending up getting pushed back, and he definitely can't fight off his back foot. So I see him fighting as normal. He's got to fight his normal game and hope his chin holds up, and that he can either eat the big shots and manage to out volume Taisumov by making him slow down, or get this fight to the mat. Now he's never really shown great takedowns. Yeah, he got Kyle Nelson down, but come on, Kyle Nelson got out wrestled by Jonathan Brookins who's a 145er. He doesn't have great takedowns. He's dangerous if he gets you down. If he dropped Taisumov, followed him to the ground, then it could be very interesting. But I just don't see him getting the fight to the floor. I think it's going to be on the feet, and I think style-wise he matches up for him badly against Taisumov. I think he's just going to get teed off on, and I think Taisumov ultimately puts him away. My only way really I see CDF winning is, as I said, he pushes forward, he eats the big power shots, and he keeps throwing the volley moving forward, and Taisumov slows down. But Taisumov's got such good timing and power. I just think he ends up putting him away. So my pick is Taisumov here to win impressively, but they need to get Taisumov out again before year end. He needs to fight. I need to look at the cards to see if there is another European one besides Copenhagen, but we've got to try and get this guy out again. I don't think they're going to get the visa for America. We haven't managed it now in however long. Has he ever fought in America? Where was the no, I don't think he has he? No, he's never fought in America. So I don't think that's ever going to be resolved, but they need to get him ASAP. If he looks impressive here, obviously if he doesn't, then I think I've seen some people saying that, or hoping that his athleticism and that's dropped off. I think people are reading too much into the Desmond Green fight. He's only 31. He's in his athletic prime still. I still think he's going to look as good as ever. He trains at Tiger. I expect a KO win here, and if he doesn't finish him, I think a fairly dominant decision win. So Taisumov for me. Next, we've got men's heavyweight fight. We've got Curtis Blaydes taking on Shamil Abdurakhimov. From a betting perspective, the line's long gone there. I mean, Blaydes is like minus 500. He was sitting for a while with around the minus 270, minus 275 area, which I thought was playable. I'm not high on Shamil. I've seen some people giving. I mean, the line is wide now. Don't get me wrong. I can't fault anyone having a stab at Shamil now. It's heavyweight. Anything can happen. But for me, I just think it's a tough fight for Shamil. I mean, I'm not overly high on Shamil. I know he's coming off a few wins. Chase Sherman, Orlovsky, Tybura. I'm not high on any of them. Derek Lewis fight. He was winning the Derek Lewis fight until Lewis took him down and finished him. But for me, Shamil, he's fairly light on his feet for a heavyweight, Shamil, but I don't think he's that light on his feet that he can kind of dance around and avoid Blaydes shooting on him. I'm not sold on his takedown defence, and his bottom game is a question mark as well. We saw Tim Johnson take him down, move to mount straight away, finish him. I think it was a premature stoppage. Same with Derek Lewis. He was gassed, it was round 4, but taken down, finished straight away. And we saw Orlovsky hit a couple of takedowns, and one of them he did get back to his feet straight away. The other one, I think there was only about 30 seconds left in the round, but he was on his back for the remaining 30 seconds. But getting taken down by Orlovsky's a slight worry. Like Marcin Tybura didn't. I thought Tybura was going to try and grapple in that fight. He didn't go for one takedown, just stood with him. Chase Sherman's. It was over quick, but Chase Sherman isn't UFC level. And then we've got the very disputed Walt Harris fights. The problem with Shamil is he's low volume. He's not a huge puncher. He's coming off a nice KO over Tybura, caught him with a good left hook and finished him. He's not known for his power. He's not known for his volume. There's question marks about, for me, his takedown defence and how he is off his back. And he's taken on Curtis Blaydes, who's just a wrecking ball. I think he's got it's like 40 takedowns in his UFC fight so far. Now, don't get me wrong, his wrestling isn't great. Blaydes, he's not like a great chain wrestler. He is like a double or bust kind of guy, but he's just got some horsepower on him. He's a big heavyweight. He's going to have some size over Shamil. The only guy that's beaten him in the UFC is Francis Ngannou on 2 occasions. Besides that, besides the Omelainchek fight, he's managed to wrestle everyone. And even against Daniel, he still had him pressed against the fence. And even if he can't get Shamil down early, I think he's just going to push Shamil up against the fence. He'll wear on him. Shamil can slow down. Having that guy pressing on you, trying for takedowns, it's going to wear you out. And Blaydes doesn't slow down. He's got great cardio for a heavyweight. He's got a chin on him. I don't like that he does get cracked quite often, but I don't think that's going to catch up with him here. Shamil doesn't have the biggest power, and Blaydes does have a big reach advantage, and he's got a decent straight right. I would not be shocked to see him hurt or drop Shamil with that straight right, or at least use that straight right to set up that blast double. I think this is going to be a pretty straightforward win for Blaydes. I don't really see how Shamil wins this fight, to be completely honest. But the line is wide now. It's in minus 500. Shamil isn't a low level. I wouldn't call him a low level heavyweight. He's a decent fighter, but I just struggle to see a path to victory for him here. But I wouldn't be playing minus 500. Be interesting to see where they set the over. It's probably going to be 2.5, but I'd definitely be intrigued if it was 1.5. And I was going to say Blaydes' decision might be worth a look, but I'm just worried about Shamil off of his back with them 2 kind of instant finishes. So yeah, I don't know if I can find any value on that fight, but I'm definitely picking Curtis Blaydes to win that fight. I'm really confident in him there. Next we've got Davi Ramos, Islam Makhachev. This is a fight where I do think the line's off. Makhachev minus 330 at the moment. I think this is a real hard fight to read. I can definitely see them cancelling each other out and this being a kickboxing match. Is Islam going to want to try and take Davi down? You know, at first I thought yes, but then you've just got to be careful, because if you go for a takedown that doesn't quite come off and you leave your back and Davi jumps on your back, I just really don't know what Islam's tactics going to be in this fight. On the feet, his stand-up's getting better, but it's still not great. Davi, his stand-up isn't great, but he throws with heat. So it's a hard fight for me to read. I mean, what you have got to bear in mind is we have seen Davi slow down in the past. I'm not sure when he's arrived in Dubai, but he's got a long flight from Brazil. And I mean, it's also hard to read because they just both have had, they've had pretty good matchmaking. I mean, you look at Davi Ramos' fights, and took his debut at welterweight against Sergio Moras, which he lost a decision, which was a kickboxing match. Exactly what I think might happen here is they both just stood for 3 rounds. But then since then he's beaten Chris Gruchmacher, Nick Hine, John Gunther, Austin Hubbard. And you couldn't ask for a better set of matches. I mean, and even Makhachev's kind of, you look at who he's fought. Leo Kuntz lost to Adriano Martins, and then he's beaten, Chris Wade and Nick Lentz aren't bad fighters, don't get me wrong. They're good wrestlers, which showed his wrestling pedigree and his grappling pedigree. Then he got a shot Gleison Tebow, Cajun Johnson, and I mean, I guess he's had the higher caliber, and then he's got that win over Arman. I can never say the guy's surname, but we know the potential Arman's got, and he managed to kind of out-hustle him. I mean, I do favour Makhachev. I just think he's definitely got the better cardio. I just have a hard read on figuring out how the fight's going to play out. Are they just going to stand for 3 rounds? And if they do, things get interesting. So I'm going to pick Islam because, he's fighting closer to home. He's not got that brutal flight. I don't know when Ramos has flown over, but I'm saying the cardio issue, but if it's a stand-up fight, I don't really see that coming into play, because Islam isn't the kind of guy that's going to set this massive high pace on the feet. The way to tire Davi would be to engage him in the grappling, but does Islam want to risk potentially ending up on the bottom, or perhaps having his back taken in some kind of transition? I don't know. It's just a hard fight to call. Now, I did blind bet Makhachev because he was at minus 225, and I thought the line would widen, which it has, so I've got the option to buy out. I have bought out partially already. I may buy out completely because I'm just struggling to get a read on the fight. I will be interested to see what goes distance is. Probably going to be quite juicy, but this is a chalky card, guys. It's hard to find value, and I don't know why the goes the distance lines aren't out yet. They're normally out by now, so it's hard to find value without seeing them lines. But yeah, it's a chalky card, and I do like a lot of the favourites this week. So, but this shouldn't be lined. I can't fault anyone stabbing Davi Ramos at plus 270. I think it will be a close fight, but I do ultimately think Makhachev probably going to get the decision. Next, the co-main event, Edson Barboza, Paul Felder, rematch here of a fight from a few years ago. So, interesting fight now. They're both different fighters to who they were when they last fought. Let's just have a quick look when they last fought. It was in... Oh wow, it was 4 years ago now. Jeez, long time ago. Yeah, so since then, Barboza's... We've seen him take a lot of damage, to be fair. The Kevin Lee and Nurmagomedov fights were big beatdowns, and he's coming off a bad knockout loss to Justin Gaethje. Dan Hooker fight sandwiched in between those losses. He absolutely beat Dan Hooker down, but he's kind of lucky that Hooker was so beat down, because Barboza did kind of gas in that fight. So the question here is, are their careers going in different directions? I mean, Felder is 35, so it's not like he's got that long left. I mean, he's the older guy, but he's definitely got less mileage. He's taken less damage. I just don't know where Barboza's at, and kind of 3 of those last 4 losses were pretty bad beatdowns. So, you know, how is his durability? Felder, since he's been with Rufus, we have seen improvement. We have. He got a couple of wins over Stevie Ray, Alex Ritchie. You know, not the best opposition, but then solid win over Charles Oliveira. He moved up to welterweight to face Mike Perry, and he ran him really close fight. And then he's coming off a solid win over James Vick. Felder seems to have matured as a fighter. He doesn't attempt the spinning back fist and stuff that he used to attempt. And you hear it in his commentary, you know, he's very aware of what you need to be doing to win fights. He knows what he needs to do to win this fight. He needs to definitely have more volume than he did in their first fight. He definitely needs to try and put pressure on Barboza, and he needs to try and hurt him. He's taken a lot of damage last couple of years. He's got to bring the fight to Barboza here, and I think he's aware of that. So I think he's a live dog here. I definitely don't fancy playing Barboza. Line's come down a bit. I did see him up at -170. He's -155. Felder's +135. I'll be interested to see what goes the distance pays. Felder decision pays. What even Barboza decision, because I definitely don't see him finishing Felder. Felder is very, very durable. So I mean, skill for skill on the feet, you do favour Barboza, but there's just other factors to bring into play here. You know, Felder seems to be in a career best place. Barboza, he's had some bad beatdowns. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. I think it's going to be close. I think the value probably is with Felder, but Felder's volume just worries me. But from a betting perspective, I think if you're going to bet Felder, bet him now. I think the line might tighten, and I don't really see there being much value if it tightens towards a pick-em fight. I think there's maybe a little bit of value on Felder. I wouldn't go big, but I'm intrigued to see what goes the distances. That's the line I'm looking at for, but I'm surprised they haven't been set yet, which is disappointing, because normally when I do this pod, those lines are out, and you know, I do like recommending bets for those lines. So have a look and see what it is when it's out, guys. I think if you can get anything better than kind of anything under -200, I think holds a bit of value, because Felder's tough as shit. I don't see him getting stopped, and Barboza, I mean, yeah, there might be durability issues now, but Felder's not a big finisher. I mean, he couldn't put Vic away, who's shown to have no chin at lightweight. Charles Oliveira was like £1,000, so that's kind of irrelevant. I mean, he did put away Stevie Ray and Ritchie with elbows in the clinch, which I think Felder's going to lean on here. He's going to definitely look for that clinch. You know, close the gap on Barboza, do good work in the clinch. I think that would definitely be something that he'd be looking for in this fight. But Barboza's not, I mean, I wouldn't call him chinny. Gaethje just caught him, and then the other 2 fights were kind of sustained just beatdowns where he didn't even get finished. You know, we did get finished by Lee, eventually got choked, but he went the distance with Khabib. So I mean, it's not like I wouldn't say he's chinny, but he is coming off that loss, so durability is a worry. But Felder's just not a finisher, so he goes the distance. I'm definitely intrigued to see what that line is. I think there's slight value on Felder at the moment, but I wouldn't bet it big. I think it's going to be a really close fight, guys, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm going to pick Felder to win a decision. So I'm intrigued to see what that decision line plays. I'm not normally a prop player in terms of betting someone to win by decision, etc., but I'm intrigued to see what that is. So now we move to the main event of the evening, the return of Khabib Nurmagomedov taking on Dustin Poirier. Khabib, we haven't seen him since the Conor fight, so he's been out about a year. How old is he now? He's 30 years of age now, so he's still in his prime. We know what Khabib's all about, wrecking machine, which is great wrestling, the absolute nightmare from top position. Kind of waltzed through everyone he's faced so far. Albeit I am intrigued to see how his cardio holds up in this fight. I do think he slowed against Al and Conor. The Al Quinta fight, a lot of it towards the end was on the feet. He was struggling to get the takedowns, and I think that was from him being tired. I know a lot of people are going to argue this, but I think there is a bit of a question mark on his gas tank. He does have a really difficult cut, and that is not going to be getting any easier as he gets older. So that is a slight concern if you're a Khabib backer for me, and I think that is probably where Dustin Poirier's one hope of getting a victory can be gleaned from here. Now we know Poirier's really good on the feet, very good boxing. I think he will bring the fight to Khabib more on the feet than Al did or Conor did, and he's got some nasty power as Dustin Poirier, but his wrestling takedown defense historically just isn't great. I'm sure he's worked the hell out of it for this camp, but how much you can improve in one camp, especially when you're facing someone like Khabib, I don't know. DP's in career best form. He's coming off that win over Max Holloway, really impressive performance. Before that, he had the Alvarez knockout win. He knocked out Justin Gaethje as well in a fight where at one point it looked like he was done. Kind of ran through Anthony Pettis, but he's had. Eddie is a wrestler, but Eddie doesn't really wrestle, and he did go to wrestling at one point in that fight. And he did get Dustin down, but predominantly he's had kind of striking match after striking match, which suits Dustin to a T. So this is a much tougher stylistic fight for him. He's going to have Khabib wrestling him. So the only way I really can see Dustin winning is if he can survive the first 2 or 3 rounds. Khabib we saw take a round 3 off against Conor. I think he slowed against Al Quinta. I think Dustin's cardio will hold up. I don't see him being gassed out, even if he does get wrestle fucked for the first 3 rounds. And I think he's got a hope that Khabib does slow, that the takedown success drops dramatically, and Dustin can start letting his hands go. Now Khabib seems to have a solid chin. He's got one of them blockheads that normally suggests you've got a solid chin, but Dustin Poirier definitely cracks harder than anyone he's fought. Now Conor does crack, but Conor's kind of more about timing. Poirier, in terms of kind of intensity and pressure that he brings with his punches, it's completely different. So I hope this fight gets to like round 4, because I'd be very intrigued. If Khabib doesn't slow down, then Dustin just getting wrestle fucked for 5 rounds if he doesn't get stopped. But I think there is going to be an opening, possibly as we get into round 3, round 4, where we do see Khabib start to slow down, especially if the first couple of rounds have been a high pace. So what Dustin needs to do is try and make Khabib work. If he can work back to his feet in the first few rounds, make Khabib have to rework for them takedowns rather than allowing him to just control him on the floor. I think the game plan from Dustin has to be centered around just making Khabib work. Dustin can't fight differently. Al Quinta just didn't really fight his normal game in rounds 4 and 5. When Khabib, for me, was tired, he didn't push forward as much as he could have done because he was just worried about getting taken down. You just need to remove that from your head. You're fighting Khabib, you're going to get taken down. You've got to accept that. You just need to believe in being able to get back to your feet or survive. Each round starts again on its feet, and you just got to hope that the guy slows down, so you've got to make him work. And that's why I just want to see this Tony Ferguson fight, because Ferguson's going to make him work. But I'm going to pick Khabib. I'm not in love with the line. I think this is Khabib is obviously an awesome fighter, but he's minus 450 at the minute. The line's getting bet up even more. It's getting more and more tempting to bet Poirier. I don't think the line should be this wide, considering how good Dustin Poirier is, but stylistically Poirier has had good fights for the last few years. So we've seen him tested against a grinder for a long time, if ever even. But I mean, the longer this fight goes, the more interesting it gets for me. So I'm going to pick Khabib to win by decision. But rounds 4 and 5 for me are going to be, if it gets that far, could get really, really interesting. And I'm hoping Poirier pulls it off, and I'm going to have a stab on. I'm going to wait. I think he's going to get to plus 400, and I think that's worth a bet personally. So yeah, I'll pick Khabib to win by decision. We do have most of the props etc. available. I know William Hill are offering minus 200 on over 2.5 rounds. I did consider it, but I just don't know. It's minus 200, and I can just see Khabib being on his back and stuff. The first 2 rounds going to be a sweat, but Khabib isn't really a finisher. I think DP can survive. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. So it's just a bit juicy though, minus 200. If it's a bit lower, I'd be tempted. But what's Khabib to win by a decision? Well, Khabib decision is plus 225. That is surprising. I was not expecting that at all. Wow, that's really high. I mean, it is 5 rounds, but I don't think he's gonna. I mean, Poirier's only been subbed. I mean, he's been knocked out a couple of times, but they were early in fights by punchers. Khabib would be shocked if Khabib put him away on the feet. I mean, obviously Khabib's got the ground and pound top game that no one that Poirier has faced has, but it's not a wrecking machine in the sense that he goes out and just blows everyone away. I think that's got value, And you could even buy out after a couple of rounds if you can live bet, and you've got access to the props on live bet where you can bet who wins by decision. You could, if you wanted to, you'd probably get a good line on hedging with Nurmagomedov inside the distance after a couple of rounds, especially if Dustin hasn't really been kind of in danger of being finished. So, wow, plus 225. I think if you like Khabib and you want to bet Khabib, I mean, the money line for me is just too high to play, but I definitely would be intrigued by a decision. I mean, I'm just not tempted to bet it though. I've just got a feeling in my gut that this goes long, that this could get really hairy for Khabib. I'm picking him still, but I would not be shocked by Poirier pulling this out of the bag late. And as I said, I'm going to wait, but I expect to see plus 400, and I'm probably going to take a stab on that. Dustin Poirier shouldn't be plus 400 against anyone. I don't care if it's Khabib. I rank him as the outsider here, but I definitely don't think he should be that big of an underdog. I think the line really should be Khabib. I don't think Khabib should be above minus 300, maybe even minus 250. But I'm going to go with Khabib to win a decision, but a little bit more on Poirier. I'm betting him. Even though I'm picking Khabib, you got to go with value sometimes, and shouldn't be that big of an underdog. But ultimately, I'm going to pick Khabib to win by decision. So that wraps it up, guys. Like I said, if you want to take advantage of the packages that we offer, members are up over £10,000 or $10,000 if they use £100 or $100 per unit. 10,000, and we've still got 4 months of the year left. We're only 2/3 through. So I initially wanted members who bet £100 or $100 per unit to get to 20k. Realistically, probably not going to happen now. Let's aim for 15. Still great return. If you bought a yearly, it's only $440 or £350, and if you walk away at the end of the year with 15 grand, wow, what an investment, guys. So good luck everyone with your bets. I'll be back next week for the Gaethje Cerrone breakdowns. Hope you all make some money. Over and out. Speak to you soon. Any questions, drop your comments on YouTube or fire me an email, info@prommmabetting.com, and join the team, guys. Let's make some money.